Guys, how's it going? Welcome back to All for United. This is a post-match reaction. Manchester United are through to the Europa League semi-finals after a 2-0 win over Granada at Old Trafford. Yes, I've had a trim. My face is a lot cleaner and tidier. I'm sure a lot of the faces that are coming on today will be a lot tidier now. We're all out of lockdown. Hope you're all very, very happy. Hope you're all doing very well. And, of course, United have won a game of football today. So get in the comments. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know. Have you all been in a beer garden recently? Have you all been spending your first few days of freedom almost? Well, it felt good today. I thought it was a routine win. Wasn't as comfortable as I probably expected it to be. I thought Granada came out and actually tried to play some football this time instead of hacking our players down. We avoided any potential banana skins with the Paul Pogba yellow card and with any injuries that could have possibly happened. And we got through to the semi-final. And the important thing now is to get into that semi-final and win it. There's no point getting to 5 semi-finals and losing all of them. And honestly, I think if that was to happen, we'd have to start asking a lot of serious questions about the mentality of this team and possibly our manager as well. But today, full of positives and hopefully not a lot of negatives, even though it obviously wasn't a fantastic game. It was a routine win, as I say. Everyone who's watching, like the video now. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, head over to youtube.com/allforunited. Subscribe and like the video while you're here. We've got 5 fantastic guests coming up, and they're all going to have their thoughts heard. And, of course, yours will be heard as well, so make sure to get in the comments. Hashtag Europa League Champions of the World is still on. Let's bring on our first guest. That is the wonderful Alan. Alan, how are you doing? How are you feeling after that one? Did you expect a little bit more, or are you just happy that, result is a result?
Yeah, I think it's just a job done, wasn't it, tonight? I think after winning the first leg 2-0 and being in the prime position to get through the tie, and after Cavani scoring fairly early, I thought we might go on to sort of dominate it a bit more. But I think when we went 3-0 up on aggregate, it was almost like we've done it now. And it seemed to me as though it went a bit lethargic and sloppy. We got a bit into we didn't play as well as we could have done after that. I thought some of the passing was average, and I don't know, Karthik. I think the energy levels just dropped a little bit. But at this stage, I suppose, of the tournament, it's all about winning, isn't it, and getting through the ties. So I think that was the crucial thing. But from a performance perspective tonight, not the best, really.
Yeah, and to be fair, the job was already done in the first leg, you'd say, with the 2 away goals. And considering, obviously, the number of yellow cards that we had in that leg and the team that we put out today, what did you make of the players that came in then? So, for example, Axel Tuanzebe came in for Harry Maguire, and Victor Lindelof was almost the senior member of that defensive partnership. Do you think he took on that leadership role pretty well?
Yeah, I thought he did well, Tuanzebe. I think he had a decent game. He certainly, his positioning was quite good. He got his foot in where he could. No, Granada, they were okay. They tried to create stuff, didn't they? But they had to, because they were 3-0 down. So I know they had a couple of decent chances second half, but I thought in a general performance perspective, I thought Tuanzebe did okay. It's not easy coming in and out of teams. It's very difficult. You need runs inside. Like Donny van de Beek got a bit of a run tonight in his second half, but he showed glimpses again, putting a great cross. I think it was for Greenwood, wasn't it, that he couldn't quite get his purchase on the header. But like anything else, Karthik, like any of these players will tell you, you need plenty of game time. You need to get your match fitness up. And unfortunately, this season, Van der Beek's just been on the sidelines quite a bit, and he's not managed to do that. But maybe Ollie's got eyes on Donny van der Beek for maybe the next year or two to try and establish him a little bit more. But largely, it's been a bit of a disappointing start for him, hasn't he? He's not got as much game time as he would have hoped.
Yeah, and you say that players need runs in the team, and definitely Donny van der Beek is one of them. And I think it's difficult for Ollie to bring him in when people like Bruno Fernandes are putting up the numbers that they are. Paul Pogba's in the kind of form he is. But for someone like Axel Tuanzebe, do you think he's shown enough in the little glimpses that we've had? Because we've had games like the PSG game where he kept Mbappe very quiet. But then he's had games like, I can't remember who it was in the league where he gave away a silly free kick, and we can see Everton. It was Everton. We've seen him play games like that. So in that sense, do you think Ollie's seen enough to say he deserves a run, or do you reckon at some point you just have to give faith in that talent and see what he does over a run of games?
I always say, Garth, that there's two stages to a young player coming into United. The first one is getting your debut and getting a chance and an opportunity. And the second one, probably the hardest thing, is to stay in that side and sort of nail down a position. You know what United's like, Garth, we've been following for a long time, and there's top quality in a lot of those positions, and you've got to be really, really good as a young player to come in and stake a claim and get a run in the side. That's hard to do. So from Tunazabi, yeah, decent centre half, good player. Whether he's going to shift Maguire out, well, that's not going to happen. Maguire paid a lot of money for him. He's going to be a regular. Lindelof, not bad. Okay, he does a job. Last sort of month or so when he's got back in after Bailly's been injured, he started to sort of cement a decent partnership with Maguire. So it's breaking those two, isn't it? I know Eric Bailly's a bit injury prone, isn't he? So he's in and out. So it sounds awful, but you're almost relying on a bit of an injury. That's horrible to say, but sometimes in football, that's the only way that you're going to get a chance and an opportunity to play a load of regular games. So, but we obviously we don't want injuries to happen and anything like that. But ridiculously in football, it certainly helps you as a young player because then you get half a chance to come in and do something.
Yeah, I mean, for example, Rashford, if Martial doesn't get injured in a warm-up, he never gets his chance. And does he ever get into the first team? That's another question entirely. We'll go with the main story of today. That will be Edinson Cavani. Once again, probably giving us a masterclass into what a number 9 should be. What did you make of him and just how good is he?
I thought he took his goal really well, didn't he? And I think one thing I like, Karthik, and this has probably been spoke by a lot of people who follow United and watch football in general, that he's quite explosive and his movement's very, very shrewd in that penalty area. If you watch his runs, he kind of like delays, and then he'll get right across the defenders, like almost like that 3 or 4 yard, very sharp, and he gets on the end of things, doesn't he? And Cavani's like a ready-made. He's a top professional. He's almost in the ilk of Sheringham arriving at United or Larson arriving. The finished products, aren't they? You're not having to wait. You're not having to give Cavani time to settle down. He's in there and he took a few goals for us, hasn't he? But it's like we were saying on the last show, Karthik, whether he's going to stay or not that's the big question now, isn't he? Is he going to give us another year? In order to hopefully get fans back into the ground. How brilliant would that be to sort of, because it could be like a god here at United. I think OT is built for players like Cavani, but whether he's going to stay, that's the big question, unfortunately, over this next period now.
Well, this whole conversation about, a proper number 9, a proper striker, and will he give him another year? It feels a lot like when Zlatan was here. So now I need to ask the question. Now, the goals are different, obviously. The Zlatan season was incredible. But as for the impact on the team they've come into and how they fit it, who do you think has had a bigger impact?
Yeah, it's a tough question, isn't it? Zlatan, he's top player as well, isn't he? And it's difficult because Zlatan come a bit like Edinson in a way that you're coming towards the latter stages of your career, aren't you? It's a shame we've not recruited these guys when they were like 26, 27 or something, right in the prime of their careers. But like I say, he's a fan's hero. People like Cavani can quickly become fans' heroes, and he knows where the goals are. He's a handsome lad, and he's got all those flowing locks and stuff like that. And it's just, it'd be brilliant if we could get another season out of him. But it's down to the lad himself. I don't know if there's a bit of homesickness or he wants to go back to his roots. I'm not sure, but it'd be fantastic if he signed gives another year maybe, and and pushed us towards the Premier League title. Not that I'm writing it off just yet this year. It's highly likely City's going to do it, but you never know. If we win that game in hand and City stutter again, wouldn't that be unbelievable? But I'm dreaming there, Karthik, I think.
Everyone who's watching right now, for once, it wasn't me. It was one of my guests. There you go. I'm clean. I'm washing my hands clean at this one. Alan just said we're going to win the league. That's what I'm saying. No, he didn't say that. Finally, then, before you go, Roma in the semi-final. We faced them before in Europe. Obviously not the same team. A bit similar to when we played AC Milan. And they're not quite the same side as they were maybe 10 years ago. Are they a team you're worried about, or do you think United should fancy themselves against them?
Yeah, I think United should fancy themselves strongly now, but it's football, Carthage, isn't it? It's all about the day and what happens on the day. You know, I don't think Roma are like the team that you were. You're absolutely right. I think they're decent. You know, no, they'll give us a test, no doubt about that. But I think, you know, if you go and price up United now in the Europa League, they'll probably be strong favourites to maybe do something now and win this. And you know, the other semi-finals, Arsenal and Villarreal, isn't it? So again, you know, there's no reason why we can't beat those either. There's nothing really in this last four to fear. So if we can get past Roma, you know, obviously it's going to take a bit of doing. We're going to have to find performances to do it, but you know, hopefully we can be confident. And you know, wouldn't it be fantastic? I think all he needs this. He needs to land a trophy. He needs to get this over the line, just as Sir Alex did right back in the early years of his reign. He got the FA Cup behind him, and then it just started a steamroller going then. So if Ollie can get a trophy in the bank, you know, give him that little bit of surety, get the Glazers and Woodward backing him over the summer to get some top players in, and let's get this ball rolling again and get United back where they should be, and that's on the top of that Premier League.
Very, 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 very wise words there from Alan. Hopefully, United can get over this semi-final curse and get into a final and hopefully win the damn thing. Alan, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Everyone go follow Alan on Twitter. He's absolutely fantastic, especially with his lineup news. His team news is fantastic. It's brilliant. It just makes me chuckle every time I see it. Cheers for coming on, Alan.
Thanks, Carl. I think take care.
Right, that was Alan. I think I just cut him off towards the end there. Very sorry, Alan. Everyone who's watching now, like the video. We're going to have Barry on very, very shortly. Let's go through some of your comments before we go. Fred and Matic, just know. I thought they were okay today. They weren't terrible, you know. They weren't okay. Hammer, if you watch Cavani off the ball, it looks like he's always twitching because he's always expecting to make a run. That's what a number 9 does. He delays his run. That's what Alan was saying. Delays his run, makes it at the right time. So the best strikers will get fidgety around the shoulder of the defender because they're waiting for that ball to come. They're trying to time that run perfectly. Joe, how are you lads? How you doing, mate? We're all claiming that goal for Maya, right? I'd like to think so, but probably not. Probably not. I can't see it being given to him, unfortunately. But I do love Juan Mata, and I hope he's doing okay with what happened recently. You missed very little. I put the Ajax Roma game on. Roma looked very beatable. I'm not sure. Is Smalling still starting every game for them? That's my question. Is he still doing that? Smaldini? We'll see. Let's get Barry on very shortly. First of all, before I do that, there's 29 of you watching, absolute legends. There are 12 of you who are watching on Facebook, so make sure to head over to youtube.com/AllForUnited. There's 7 of you on Twitter as well. What are you doing, you absolute loners? Get over to YouTube, join the party. Let's get Barry in. Barry, a lot better than last time out against Granada.
Yeah, it was
still not perfect though.
Yes, but really a stroll in the park tonight. Once we'd got that early goal, it was really going through formalities, trying to keep the clean sheet, not getting any injuries, not getting any red cards. So I was very pleased he hooked off Pogba at half-time because I think the referee had a bit of a vendetta against Pogba. So all in all, a decent evening at the office, although there was nothing inspirational about the game except the actual goal. The goal was excellent.
Yeah, and just quickly on the Pogba thing, do you think he sometimes gets treated a little bit differently because of his build, his height? Just half the time, I think he's just stronger, but he gets fouls given against him very easily, doesn't he?
He does. Look, he's a big unit. He's a strong lad. And he got booked for an apparent elbow. I think, if anything, Granada are a very physical side. I thought they're actually a very poor team and not a very good footballing team, and very physical in both games. It was an easy game, so to speak. What one wanted to avoid was them getting an early goal. And, our keeper really only had a couple of saves to make in the dying moments of the game. They didn't really create very much at all.
Yeah, and they actually tried to play a little bit of football this time. They weren't the usual, I want to say rough team, but they weren't exactly rough. They were just rash. But they actually tried to play a bit of football today. Did you feel nervous at any point?
No. They had to come out because they had a big deficit from the first game. But it was really a very, very comfortable game. We didn't look troubled. I didn't think at any stage.
Yeah,
But
and
certainly from an entertainment point of view, job done. But I didn't feel that we were entertained for 90 minutes. That's for sure. We were probably
yeah,
entertained for about 90 seconds.
and on that, in terms of the players that we expect to come on and entertain us, Donny van der Beek was one of them. And I remember asking you about this last time, so I'll ask you again. He came on. He had a lot more game time, admittedly. Ollie made a good decision to bring him on for Pogba to avoid the red card, but he didn't really do a lot, did he?
I thought he looked decent. What I liked about him tonight is that he held on to the ball a bit longer than he has in previous games. He created a few chances. Some of his final passes were a bit wayward, but in games previously, he's been really a one-touch player. And tonight, I thought he held on to the ball a bit more. And I'd like to see more of him, and I'd like to see him, getting more game time. But that remains to be seen.
Yeah, hopefully he'll get a few more minutes in the Europa League potentially, and maybe even in the league. We've got a few games coming up that could do with a player like him, especially against Burnley, maybe. In terms of the other players that came in, I mean, I asked about Axel Tuanzebe. What did you make of his performance? I'm just asking everyone because Ben keeps thinking that I have some agenda with him.
Yeah, look, Axel has been out of the team for a long time, so he didn't really make any errors. He didn't do anything special. He did his job tonight. He looked pretty solid. He's quite a physical player. He gives away quite a few free kicks, but he did okay tonight. I guess Lindelof was kind of the senior guy at the back, and I think he took on that responsibility pretty well tonight. I thought he looked very solid tonight.
When you say Axel's been out of the team for a long time, do you think that's fair, or do you think maybe he deserves a few chances?
No, I don't see Axel as an improvement on either Lindelof or Maguire. So did he deserve more chances in terms of squad rotation? Maybe, but is he good enough at the moment to displace one of those guys? No.
Ben's clearly in the comments. He says, "Forget winning the Europa League. Tuanzebe winning a header is worth an open bus parade." So that tells you what he made of his performance. And the less said about Axel Tuanzebe, the better, because everyone seems to. Well, Ben seems to bully me about Axel. I love Axel. He's such a great guy. I hope he goes off to Villa or something and gets appreciated over there. In terms of the attack then today, Pogba again, superb. Cavani once again, magnificent.
Yeah.
How good are those two at the minute?
Yeah. Look, Pogba is in a rich vein of form, and he's always been divisive. There are many people who want to see the back of him. I don't. I think we're a much better team when he's in the team than when he's not in the team. And for me, he's at his best when he makes some of these surging runs forward. I don't like seeing him as the holding midfielder, although he is a versatile player, but I like seeing him going forward. Cavani is a joy to watch. The sort of cognoscenti in football draw our attention to the fact that his movement off the ball is just terrific. And he really is a joy to watch. And I just hope that he can remain injury-free, because he's in the twilight of his career. He's had a lot of injuries, but what a player, really a terrific player. And he reminds me almost of the cameos that we've seen at United with the likes of Henrik Larsson, for example. Guy that's injected some fresh energy into the team. And I have no doubt that some of the younger players are taking note of him, and certainly being able to train with him, I think, is a big plus for them.
Yeah, and I'll ask you the similar question to the one I asked Alan in terms of fitting the team and that sort of impact. Do you think he's comparable to Zlatan, or maybe even a better impact than him? Or where do you sit on that one?
I think that, look, Zlatan was around, for kind of a season and a half. Zlatan made a major impact, and Zlatan, if my memory serves me, got 29 goals in that season, and he was injured from February. So I'd have to say that Zlatan made a bigger impact at United, but Cavani is certainly making his presence felt. You've got to feed him the ball, though. There have been some games where he's hardly had a touch. So you've got to build the attack around him, and you've got to get the ball to him. But when you do, give him enough chances, he'll put the ball away, that's for sure.
Definitely. Against what Jacob seemed to think a very shaky Roma defence, maybe he could have some joy against it. I mean, I'll have to go back and watch the Roma game, but potentially that could be a good time. And there's Henry with the comment. Give it. Yes, I'm not going to sing it right now. I don't want to sing it. I might play the video a bit later on. I might do it. You know what? I'll do that at some point. Oh, Ben's in the comments again. I'm only joking. Thought Tuanzebe was good tonight. Oh my God, Ben's just complimented Axel Tuanzebe. Lindelof, not so. Definitely missed Maguire. Slow passing out from the back, and I don't feel like we won a header in our box, but we won, so not asked. No, fair enough. I think that's a fair summary. In terms of Roma, then Barry, are you worried about them all? I mean, from what we're hearing, they weren't great tonight, but they can do a job sometimes, can't they?
I think we have to have respect for them. But I would imagine United are probably the favourites to win the trophy. That doesn't really mean much. I would expect us to probably meet Arsenal in the final. They certainly put in an impressive performance tonight.
Yep.
But, I'd expect us to get past Roma. So hopefully we will.
But we are playing against the legend that is Chris Smalling.
Indeed we are, which brings me great joy. Because I think that Smalling is vulnerable. So hopefully he'll be playing in the game. But of course he'll have a point to prove, and he'll probably play the game of his life.
That's maybe we'll counteract that by playing Phil Jones. Who knows? Is he even registered? I don't think he is. Finally, then Barry, in terms of the semi-final curse that we have at the minute, are you confident that United can get over this? Because as confident as we can say that we're favourites for this tournament, there will be something in the players' mind saying it's another semi-final. We can't lose this, and that can be very detrimental.
I think that if we're able to field our best 11, if barring any sort of major mishap with injuries, I would be confident of progressing to the final. The only thing is, we just don't know what kind of United we're going to get on the day. That's the only thing. First leg, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first leg's at home.
I'm not sure. I have to check.
I think the first leg is at Old Trafford, which, you don't want to concede an away goal in that game. You want to get a healthy lead. But look, our away form has been sublime. But I have to say I'm quietly confident for the semi-final.
Okay, thank you very much for coming on, Barry. Once again, you've been absolutely brilliant. Everyone, go follow Barry on Twitter and make sure to check out everything that he says and everything he does. And he'll be back on soon.
Always
nice
good
one.
to chat with you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Cheers, Barry. Right, that was Barry. Everyone in the comments, let me know what you thought of what he said. What are you thinking of Axel Tuanzebe? What do you think of the whole Zlatan Cavani question I've raised? I think it's a very interesting thing to discuss, potentially. Let me know what you think. Everyone, hit the like button wherever you're watching. If you're watching on YouTube, stay here. If you're watching on Facebook and Twitter, get over to youtube.com/allforunited and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Coming up next will be Mark, but before that, let's get going on some comments before I bring him on. John says, good professional result, not the best game. Certainly didn't like the way they got away with a few dirty tricks and ref did not spot it. I think that was a theme over both legs, mate. But we are through, roll on the semi-final. In fact, no, that's something that I wish we would do more. I feel like we need a bit of a nasty streak to us sometimes and to play the little dirty tricks that play on the referee's mind. But I don't think we do it enough. But we'll see. Talk about Matic. He played well. We'll ask Mark about Matic in a minute. Return of Mkhitaryan too. Yeah, good point. Not that I'm too worried about him because I think his career has gone. It's gone very bad. I feel sorry for him sometimes. Dzeko was Roma's main threat, definitely, and he was linked with City for a little bit, which is surprising. But he's a good striker. But we've got a better striker, and his name's Edinson Cavani.
Give it to Eddie Cavani, just pass in the ball and watch him score all the goals. Give it to Eddie Cavani, just pass in the ball and watch him score all the goals.
That is a social clip coming up, and I'm gonna regret that. So I'm gonna bring Mark back on now. Mark, as embarrassing as what I just did is, how? Oh, that's just, I can already see Connor clipping that up. I shouldn't have done that. How you doing, mate? How happy are you that United have won? And just tell me what you thought of the performance, because it was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, mate. That was a bit embarrassing. It's not just the clip. I think it was the dancing as well. But there you go. I mean, it's job done, isn't it? Look, we've got 2 away goals. We're relatively good today. I wasn't too disappointed with it. It wasn't as quick and incisive as you'd want, but ultimately we won 2-0 and got 4 goals, and on both legs, so that's good in my eyes. I still think we're favourites. I think we should go on to beat Roma. We should go on to win the whole thing. So we've just got to make sure we turn up, play our A game. There's a lot of dangerous players in Roma. Looking forward to that. Obviously Zeko, as you mentioned, Pedro, Mkhitaryan, Chris Smalling. So they've got some, decent players. Appreciate they're not in their prime so much, but they've got some dangerous players that we need to look out for. And if you think about our defence or what we've struggled with on set pieces, it could be a problem going forward. So, but I thought on the whole, they were pretty good. I thought Van der Beek actually, I think he got scored 7.1 on SofaScore. Did a lot under the radar, pass and move, and I actually think he did all right. And at some point he will get his chances, like tonight, and he needs to make sure he grabs them by the horns. So, all in all, a good result, and we're through.
No, that wasn't Mark, but I wish it was now. I kind of wish it was. You know what? We're going to roll with that narrative. Yes, it is Mark singing it. But we'll talk about Matic since the comments want us to. What do you think of his performance? Because I thought he did the simple stuff really well, and I think that's Matic's game now, isn't it? But do you think, we could be playing him a little bit more than we are currently, or do you think this one match every 2-3 weeks is probably about right?
Yeah, I mean, last season we were talking about, playing him every other game. I think that he's probably fallen even further this season. I think sort of once in a blue moon is probably what you can expect. But I think this was against a Granada side that didn't really pose too much threat, and he wasn't tested too much as an anchor man. So I think the sort of play style probably suited him tonight. But I think he did pretty well, actually. I think he was the highest scored, highest rated. Which
really?
He was. I think he was 7.7. I think Pogba was 7.6, something like that. So yeah, I think he did pretty well, really. But unfortunately, we've spoken about it so many times. Karthik, he can't do it every week. If we were able to have him doing that every week, we wouldn't have the huge necessity to buy a defensive midfielder. So it's just unfortunate. But he's a obviously someone in the dressing room, quite a sort of experienced character, and he probably give a lot of other things in the dressing room. So it's good to have him around.
Oh my God, that's a great comment. I've just not even clocked that. Villarreal managed by Emery. So there you go, that'll be funny. And of course, for the 2006 semi-final. So that's going to be an interesting one. Sorry, that's just completely off topic. Cavani, then. Tell me how good he is. I mean, I've just been dancing to his song, which I'm sure will be on Twitter by the end of the night. Thank you, Connor, if you're watching. Tell me how good he is and how handsome he is.
Yeah, I mean, since everything that's come out over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of talk about him, concerns, but it seems to have instilled something in him, and he's been brilliant last 2 games. I think his movement again today was wonderful. His goal was very well taken, and I think Barry was spot on, actually. If he's supplied, if he gets enough supply, he will create you something or look dangerous or whatever that may be. So I hope he stays for another year. I don't know how true it is that United are going to be going in for a centre forward. I'd rather, for now, keep him and look at other targets, as you know. So I really hope we keep him for another year. He does his job well. He's rubbing off on the right players. And when it really counts, I know he's only scored 9 goals for us this season, but he's got some very important ones, and that's what it's all about sometimes. I feel that if he was probably stay fit, and we'd probably focus our team around him a little bit more, and we had the right players to actually supply him the ball, I think that you could probably see at least 15-20 goals from him in the season. So yeah, he was great in the last game, great today, and I do think he's important for us. I do.
Well, that brings me on to my question. That seems to be the topic of the video. Zlatan and Cavani, because you can draw a lot of parallels in terms of the impacts. Because look, Cavani, as you said, has only got 9 goals, but he's got some really important ones in key moments. And performance-wise, I actually feel like he suits and has made an impact on the team more than Zlatan did. Are you of the same opinion?
I see what you're saying. I do think he's made an impact. I think it's made it very clear to us as fans, probably the club and the players, of how much we miss a number 9. So I agree there. I do believe, yeah, as I said, I think he's scored some very important goals. But has he made the same impact? I don't think so. I think if you probably watched that season where Zlatan came in, he was brilliant. He gave us another dynamic. Everybody was kind of, it was him and Pogba, wasn't it? But everyone was really sort of focusing on Zlatan, and he was the real focal point. And he got us 27, 28 goals, which, I think he was ever so slightly older than Cavani when he joined. And I think that I feel that he's probably had more of an impact. I think if Cavani had played more minutes and got more goals, I'd probably agree with you 100% and say that he suits United better, really. But unfortunately, obviously, he's only got 9. So,
well, at least he's ended the number 7 curse. I think we can all agree with that. Hopefully,
yes.
touch wood, unless he does something ridiculous like score 5 on goals in the next leg. Hang on a minute, let me see what Jarvis has just said. Solskjaer said they're still trying to get Cavani to stay, but I think he made up his mind. South Americans seldom strive in rainy Manchester. Ooh. How many South Americans have actually succeeded at United? Anderson. What a player. Don't even tell me Anderson's not fantastic. Anderson's a beautiful footballer. Oh, there you go. Hernandez. Yeah, that's a shout. Hernandez. Di Maria. Haynes. Yeah, you know what? That's probably the most successful, I think.
Yeah,
in terms of performances, I'd say he's probably the one. But we'll touch on the next round then. Roma, as you said, tricky team with some players that can produce moments of quality, and a potential final against Arsenal. Now, as I said, we can be as confident as we want in terms of, we are on paper probably the best team in the tournament. We can go and win it. But for the players, there will be that thought of, we haven't won a semi-final yet. That'll produce its own pressure on themselves. It'll produce its own narrative for them, and it might cause them to play differently to how they usually would. How much do you think that's going to affect the players? Do you reckon they're capable of shutting everything out, just go and do the job?
I think those things do have an impact. And I think that it will be on Ollie's mind more than the players. But essentially, I don't think it's going to have an impact on the game. What will be. And as long as we turn up, we're more than capable of winning. So whilst it probably will be in their minds, will it have an impact? I don't think so. I think it's just, one of those things that if we lose, then that card's going to be played again. If we win, then that's all forgotten. So, but I do, ultimately we don't want to become complacent. We are the strongest team, and that's not from arrogance. That's just on paper, as you say. And we should be winning the next 2 games to get to the final, and then winning the final. But what's happened, obviously, this season, last season before, last 8 years, you just don't know what you're going to get. And but if we really turn up and play our A game, or even if we're just, solid defensively, and even if we do start slowly, if we're solid and catch them on the counter or whatever, just 1 or 2 chances just to get there, then that's fine too. We just need to, as I say, don't become complacent, make sure we get over the line. So, but yeah, I think we can beat them for sure.
That's what I want to hear. Mark, thank you for coming on. Everyone go follow Mark, and of course he's here all the time, so make sure to tune to what he's doing. See you in a bit, Mark.
Thank you, mate.
Right, that was Mark. We've got 2 more guests coming up, so make sure to stick around. Make sure to like the video as well while you're here. If you're watching anywhere else, youtube.com/United. You know the drill by now, do I really need to tell you? This is not AFTV, so why are you asking me about Smith Rowe and Odegaard? I don't care. I'd pick Bruno Fernandes, mate. Thank you very much. So get out of here. First, like the video before you go. If the unthinkable happens and Ollie loses the 5th semi, does that raise questions about Ollie again? Potentially in the bedroom, yes. Not in the management, no. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry. I'm getting claps from Mark in the background. Anyway, just watched Ajax knocked out by Roma. Roma, quite an average team and relied upon luck and deep defending to get through. United will certainly get past them. That's from Football Orange. Isn't that what the Dutch team is called? I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm expecting them not to be very positive in their play. I'm expecting them to look at us as the stronger team and think, you know what, we'll sit back and defend this. So I'm not. He left a dislike. Well, the Arsenal fan. Oh, that's unfortunate. Jarvis. Oh, he's listing out the South Americans. Right, here we go. Di Maria, Falcao, Sanchez. That's the wrong Sanchez. You've just listed Renato Sanchez. Marcus Rojo is not a flop, right? Marcus Rojo is superb. Do not disgrace the name of Marcus Rojo on my live stream. And Veron's just unfortunate. We're an English-speaking Dutch football website. Lovely to have you. Lovely to have you. Everyone go check out Football Orange then. And of course, I'll go have a look. Shout out to Football Orange. There you go. There's Ben in the comments. Cheers for joining us, guys. I wish I knew how to speak Dutch. I'd probably say something in Dutch. No. Go away. Why are you watching AFTV, mate? Go away. Please, leave. Let's bring on James. How you doing, mate? First of all, is anyone going to be hoovering your room?
No, but it is nice to be on with someone, with the only person on All for United whose Wi-Fi is worse than mine, so that's quite nice.
Hey, it's hanging in there today, I think. I hope. Touch wood.
Just about.
Anyway, we'll get into the game then. How did you feel about the performance and in terms of the team that actually played today? Because obviously a bit of rotation was in there, people coming in. The defense was pretty much the same, but with Axel in there, you feel there's no real leader in there. How did you feel about the performance in general?
I thought it was professional. That's all you can ask, isn't it? With a 2-goal lead, you're not expecting United to go all at them. I thought it was a training game for them, really, wasn't it? Granada, I get they had more shots, but they were never really a test. It was good. I was sort of disappointed with the lineup. I thought we could have rested a few players. It was good to see Rashford get a rest, though. But yeah, I thought no one really exerted any sort of energy. So it was a good sort of training exercise, ready for an important game at Burnley at the weekend. So I can't have any complaints, really.
Yeah, and ahead of that Burnley game, did you think we made the subs at the right times to sort of rest up almost our key players? We saw Pogba come off. That might have been to do with the yellow card in the next round. We saw Bruno come off. We saw Cavani rested, and obviously we saw who else did we see come off? I can't remember, but we saw. Yeah. We saw key players come off. So are you happy that we managed to get that rest in there? Like it was almost a case of, okay, let's go get that goal we needed today to get it to 3, and then let's rest up. Do you think that was the right way to go about it today, or do you think just resting from the start?
Yeah, of course. I think the risk you play with, the risk you run with having such a weaker side out is that it's only a 2-goal advantage, so it could realistically be overturned. There's weirder things that have happened. So I think, as much as I didn't want to see it, it was probably sensible to put out a stronger team, but they definitely needed to come off at some point. I think it was weird, the obsession that the commentators had with Pogba's yellow card. I think, mate,
it was getting on my nerves. Like every couple of minutes, the commentator would go, "Oh, by the way, Pogba on a yellow card," and then Robbie Savage would go, "Yeah, really, they should really take him off." I'm just like, we get it. It's like, why are they so obsessed? But in terms of that, sorry to interrupt, but in terms of that, as I asked Barry, do you think he is unfairly treated sometimes, Pogba, with these fouls? Because half of them, he's just taller than the other lad, and he's obviously going to look like he's elbowed him.
Yeah, he's half a foot taller than most players he comes up against. So if he's putting his arms out to hold someone up, which would usually be about the sternum height, it's going to catch him in the face. Which I get, it probably is dangerous play, not his fault, but it probably is, in the letters of the law this day. It's a pretty soft game, so I think it probably is a foul. But he's very unlucky in that sense. It's definitely not a yellow card though. You know, he's just it's what Pogba does. That's the reason you can't get near him, is because he's such a big unit and he's got such good feet. It's what he's thrived off for all his career. So to now stop booking him for it, you're gonna see a decline in that sort of player, and football's just gonna become even more boring than it already is.
It's sounding more Brexit by the minute, by the way.
Yeah,
Game's gone.
Yeah, definitely.
Game's gone. We'll talk about the South American that everyone's talking about. By the way, Ugly Bear, thank you very much. That's a fantastic answer. The best South American was Anderson. What a player. Did he 300 games? Is that how many games he played for Manchester United? Bloody hell. Hang on, I need to Google this right now. Before I do that, though, tell me about Edinson Cavani and how handsome he is and how brilliant he is at football.
Yeah, he's probably the most gorgeous player we've ever had, isn't he?
Hang on a minute. We've had David Beckham at this club and Cristiano Ronaldo.
But I highly doubt Edinson Cavani sounds like a 5-year-old girl when he speaks, so that's where he gets points over David Beckham. But
what's Ronaldo's excuse?
I don't know, just a bit too greasy. But yeah, Edinson Cavani's not just gorgeous off the pitch; he's gorgeous on the pitch as well, isn't he? His movement and everything. He could have had another goal today with that header, but you see, even in what was effectively a friendly against Granada, he's still putting in that elite sort of movement, and he still wants to be in and around the goals. I think, you know, when we saw the second leg against Real Sociedad, it was completely just don't lose the game 4-0. That was the mindset. Whereas Cavani today, he was like, I'm going to completely stat pad my season's goals today. And that's the sort of mentality we want. We want someone who's going to put in 100% every single game, no matter what the circumstances. So, you know, it will be a shame when he inevitably goes. And I think we've got to enjoy the rest. We've got to enjoy the rest of the season when we have him. And it's a shame we won't get to experience the Old Trafford crowd as well.
Yes, he will. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Also, Ugly Bear, you are a liar. Anderson's not even made 300 appearances in his career. What do you mean? He made 105 for United, I believe, and then he went and had an asthma attack or something at Fiorentina, and then he never played again in Europe anyway. So I don't know where he's got 300 games from. However, it did feel like 300 games because Anderson was superb. Remember when he had a mohawk at once? Why am I talking about Anderson? Never mind. Sorry, 181. That's what it is. What did I just say? 101. Did I just say? I don't know. Why are we becoming about Anderson? Sorry, everyone. I tend to get distracted by world-class footballers. Speaking of world-class footballers, Paul Pogba again in spectacular form. I have to say. I mean, I've said it for a few weeks now that he is a different animal under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Do you think he looked like a player that wants to stay, or are you still of the mindset that, you know what, we're going to lose him in the summer, just get what you can out of him for now?
I really he looks like he wants to stay, but there's way too much surrounding him that would suggest that he wants to leave, which is a shame. But today it was a bit weird. I was gutted we only got to see 45 minutes of him, because him and Fernandes on the pitch, especially against Granada, they weren't at their best because they were just taking the mick at times, weren't they? It was too easy for them. They just didn't want to get injured more than anything. But when they were playing the ball to each other, it was what you want to see from a United team. So I think more than any transfer business really this season, the emphasis should be on convincing Pogba to stay.
Oh, you sound like a Glazer.
Obviously, if it's just Pogba contract extension this summer, I'm going to be absolutely gutted. But
that's what it's going to be.
I think if it's between convincing him to stay and him leaving and Declan Rice arriving, I know I'd much rather Pogba stay.
No, what's going to happen is we're going to swap Jesse Lingard for Declan Rice plus 20 million, and then we're going to sign Pogba to a new contract, and everyone's going to go, yeah, we kept Pogba, and then 2 months later we'll go, wait, shit, we didn't sign Sancho or a striker. What the fuck are we going to do now? And then everyone explodes again. I was about to ask you a question there. I forgot the question because I was too busy thinking about Paul Pogba signing a new contract. What was I about to ask? Oh, this is brilliant. I'm a top host here, aren't I? There was something about what was I going to ask? Oh, I don't know. Never mind. By the way, Ugly Bear says, no, that's wrong, Mark. It's 105. You just said 300. So what are you on about? Yes, I am too busy thinking about Anderson. What for? Can we just spend a minute just talking about Anderson? How good was he for Man United? I don't care that this is a Granada post-match reaction.
I think if we're talking as a pure shithouse, he was probably the best player we've ever seen. But I think in terms of in terms of potential and how he lived up to it, he was maybe slightly disappointing.
No, come on. Anderson was fantastic.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you won a million times more Champions League.
Anderson has scored a penalty in a Champions League final. Has John Terry done that? No. Has Cristiano Ronaldo done that? No, he hasn't.
No, to be fair. Oh, yeah, he has, just not with United.
But I meant only United appearances matter, James. What are you on about? Yeah, anyway, sorry. Let's go on. Say you're talking about Anderson. I want to let you speak.
Anderson's won more than 1 million times as many Premier Leagues as Gerrard has. So what can you say about him?
Well, there you go. By the way, my demand for Anderson to be on the Manchester United podcast is still going on, by the way. So can someone start a petition? I want to see him on the podcast. Right, anyway, before you go, semi-final against Roma. Are you worried? And a potential final against either Arsenal or Villarreal. Who do you want? Are you confident? Are you worried that we're going to lose another semi-final?
There's always that worry in the back of your mind, isn't there? It's a big game, and United are notoriously poor at big games. But I think if we were never really tested by AC Milan. I get it was a nervy game, but we were never really outplayed by them. And the table would suggest they're a much better team than Roma. So I think, if every player to a man plays well, we should be going through comfortably. But it's United we're talking about. And then in the final, I just think a United Villarreal final would be so boring. I really want to see an all English final. But then you run the risk of losing to Arsenal and you get bantered for years to come. So it's very much a catch-22. But if you want to beat anyone to win a trophy, it's going to be Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, because just as soon as you leave whatever you're watching it on or wherever you're watching it, you're just going to go watch AFTV and just enjoy that show, and then whatever the channel Troops is on right now, whatever that is, I don't know what that is going to be. Anyway, finally, then, are we going to win the Europa League?
Yeah, it was never in doubt. Of course we are.
Thank you. This is what I need on my channel. No wonder he's on all the time. Everyone, talk like James. Anyway, thank you for coming on, mate. Everyone go follow James. And of course, stay tuned. He'll be on here once again very, very soon. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Right, we've got one more guest coming up. He's waiting very patiently. Oh, he's just been doing something else and he's decided to come and wait. I don't know what he's been doing. I don't spy on people. Whoever's watching, thank you for joining us so far. We are one guest away from the end of the show. Make sure to like the video if you haven't already. And if you're watching as well, make sure to join us on youtube.com/allforunited. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's welcome the next guest. I've been with him on a podcast before, on someone's podcast that we're not going to talk about because it gets me in trouble. Hello, Jamie. I don't know if you saw all the chaos that happened over the last weekend, but we don't talk about that person on this channel.
Yeah.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. This is your All for United debut. How are you feeling?
It is, yeah. No, I'm excited, man.
These comments can be very, very brutal, so don't say anything stupid like United are going to win the Champions League. I didn't say that. I promise you, I didn't say it. I promise you.
Yeah, I'll watch what I say.
I'm totally joking. They're brilliant. Anyway, what did you make of the performance then? And just generally, how did you feel about today?
I think all the guests have nailed it. Really, it was a comprehensive performance. It wasn't entertaining. I didn't sit there the whole time thinking what a game of football this is. A lot of the times it looked like an attack versus defense training drill. I think on a different day we might have been put on the back foot a little bit more. They missed a couple of chances. We also missed a couple of chances. I thought Greenwood looked bright. But I swear to God, man, if Fred can be a footballer, so can I. Like, you know what I mean? How Shakhtar got £50 million off us for him. He frustrates me, and I don't want to focus on him all the time, but I watch him, and like for every ball recovery he makes, and don't get me wrong, I think he does some good recovery in the midfield, but 30 seconds later he gives it away with a 10-yard pass. So that was probably my biggest frustration. And again, like James just said then, the commentary's obsession with Pogba's yellow card and bringing Van der Beek on. And yet when we brought Van der Beek on, they just spent the entire time saying, why did he not play football for Man United?
Yeah, I feel like they don't have anything new to say. But in terms of Fred, then, I will ask you, because I've heard a lot of people's opinions of him and I've expressed my own as well. Last season, he looked like he'd improved a lot, and he was probably one of our better players last season. Why do you think that drop has been so heavy? And do you think there's any chance we can get him back to that form he was at last season?
Yeah, potentially. I don't know whether he's a victim of circumstance and that he looked good in that midfield because we were pretty woeful at times. Bruno brought in a completely different standard when he came in, and maybe that's what we're judging him against now. we look at when we have a midfield, like, if we've got McTominay, Pogba and Bruno in there, like that's quite a functioning midfield. It's probably my favourite midfield three that we can put out at the minute. Whereas with Fred, he just doesn't seem to have that passing vision that we see for, like, that ball that Bruno played in with the outside of his foot. I think it was through to Greenwood. Like, just stuff like that. Bruno had a bit of an off game. I didn't think that he was very good today by his standards. But even moments of magic like that. Whereas with Fred, he'll play a 10-yard pass to Matic and somehow end up giving away possession. So I hope he does come back. The last thing I ever want to see is a United player not perform. And I'll always back the players, but he is just so frustrating, man. Like, and he is not Brazilian. Like, check his passport.
Yeah, he's definitely not Brazilian. I don't know how he is. I just remembered the question that I was going to ask James, so I apologise to James right now, but I've seen it in the comments. What did you make of Pogba in the armband? Because that was a very big decision by initially Mourinho when he took it off him, and then now Ollie seemingly is giving it ahead of Bruno, ahead of De Gea, who are both in the team. What did you make of that decision?
Yeah, it's an interesting decision because, Pogba's one of the senior players in the dressing room. He's obviously one of our most gifted players. The only and I like to see him given the armband. I think, he thrives in a bit of a leadership role, and he probably does, behind closed doors, put an arm around some of our younger players. I reckon people like Ahmad look up to him now. My issue with it is when somebody's agent comes out and makes so many public comments about him wanting to move away. And Pogba's done nothing to rubbish those claims. Handing in the armband is almost like, remember back in school when the naughty kids used to get rewarded for behaving themselves for 10 minutes. Mm. It's a bit of that. I think there's players that deserve the armband. Like, what for me, like, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not a big fan of having a captain that's in the final third of the pitch all the time. But what does Bruno have to do to get given the armband on a permanent basis? I know obviously Maguire's our club captain, but. Yeah, I think it was an interesting one. I think Pogba was unplayable tonight. Again, he looks different gravy at the minute. But then the worry of that is he playing for a move away?
Yeah, and in terms of the Bruno thing, personally for me, I feel like he's a captain by leading by example. But I feel like when it goes against him, I feel like he shows his frustration through moaning rather than motivating. I think that's potentially what lets him down a little bit. And I think he's a leader anyway. I don't think he needs the armband to be a leader. Yeah. I just think maybe Ollie needs a more calm head in that sense. And speaking of calm heads, Mason Greenwood up front, along with Edinson Cavani. Obviously, Cavani scored the goal today. But I wanted to see what you think of the opportunity Greenwood has to learn off Cavani. Do you see him picking anything up in terms of when you watch Greenwood play? Do you see any evidence of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I can't remember what game it was in now, but there was the game where Cavani was asking for the ball to be delivered in a bit quicker. It was why has my memory escaped me now? Anyway,
are you thinking about Edinson as well?
Yes, I am. Honestly, mate, my head's battered. Yeah, so I definitely think having a striker of like Cavani's pedigree and experience around the training grounds, will help them leaps and bounds. Before Cavani came in, do I look at Martial and do I look at Rashford and think they're going to be putting an arm around Mason and saying, this is how you score, because they're both learning themselves. Martial's a frustrating figure as well at the best of times. So I definitely think you can see the evidence. I think Mason makes more direct runs into the box since Cavani's arrival. The header was annoying. So that ball in from Van der Beek where he's in the middle of the goal and he can put it either side of the keeper and score. But he's young and he'll get there. I think Ollie's dealing with him really well at the minute. After the slow start to the season he had off the back of last season, it would have been easy for another manager. One of our previous managers probably would have just sent him on loan to Stoke or something like that. Whereas Ollie seems to be putting an arm around him. But quite controversially, with in comparison to the other guests, Cavani's good, don't get me wrong. However, I do think it presents us with a bigger problem. I think that his goal form might convince the Glazers that we don't need to spend money on a striker. Now, he's 34. What do we do if, we don't sign a striker to replace him?
For another year, though?
It's a tricky one because what do you do? Spurs, let's say Spurs don't qualify for the Champions League. For me, Harry Kane becomes the biggest target that you can go for. Other than Lewandowski being in the form of his life at the minute, I do think that Kane's the best centre forward in the world. And I think that we need to be. Daniel Levy's obviously a nightmare to deal with, but I think we need to be throwing all the money we can at Kane. I love Martial. I've always been Martial FC, do you know what I mean? But we can't keep letting him get away with murder, man. Like he's just not the number 9 we need. I saw that stat the other day that was like Bruno and Rashford have now combined for like 68 goals and assists between them. Can you imagine if we had a fully functioning 9 in that role? Someone like Harry Kane as well, who you can have the entirety of the team having an off day, and the guy will still pick the ball up 50 yards out and think, yeah, I'll do it on my own. Don't worry about it.
The thing with that Bruno and Rashford record as well is the fact that they almost, I think, either matched it or gone more than Rooney, Ronaldo in 07-08. And I'm just thinking, that's ridiculous. And in terms of Kane, I think you're right. If they don't get top 4, I think that's got to be something we get on straight away, because if we let City get in, I think they win about 3 league titles in a row. There's no chance that they don't win anything with Harry Kane in that team. And as you said, I mean, at the minute, Harry Kane is at Spurs and he's scoring 2 goals and still not winning a game with Spurs. So he deserves better than that. And I think he'll look at a United team and go, what they're missing is me. That's literally all they're missing to go and win a league. Potentially, I think we can go and do that. But in terms of Cavani, then you mentioned he's got a few goals this season, and I'll ask you the question I've asked everyone else in terms of the whole Zlatan Cavani comparison, because as I said, there are parallels to be drawn there. In terms of impact on the team and how we're playing, who had the bigger impact?
Yeah, I've got to go Zlatan based on the position we were in at the time. We'd just come through that era with Van Gaal where, my God, like I've never seen it. I genuinely would have rather watched, Ed Woodward play the piano or something instead of Sanchez for 20 minutes. So I think it obviously Mourinho's tenure was okay if we look at on paper the trophies that we won, etc. But I think it really did mark a changing point for us, bringing in big names. We brought Zlatan in, and then 2 weeks later we brought Pogba back, and then obviously his goals spoke for themselves. I think he had a bit of a love for the club as well. I don't think Cavani necessarily has that. I think we were a big paycheck for him. He was a free agent early on, and we decided to wait until the last minute to bring him in, which just shows that it was a knee-jerk reaction. So I agree with what people have been saying about Southern Americans in Manchester as well. I'm a Mancunian, and rainy Manchester at times gets a bit too much for me. So I can't imagine if you go from 40 degrees and mojitos all the time to drinking pints in 42s.
Hey, so, some people love 42s. Shout out
I love 42s. So, but so I mean, he's having a decent little impact. But we'll see by the end of the season. If he nods in the winner against Arsenal in the Europa League final, then we can start to talk a little bit more about that.
Finally, then, are we going to win the Europa League? You've seen the hashtag. You know what it's about. Are we going to do it?
Yeah, if Ollie takes some Viagra and get past the semi, then absolutely. Nah, I'm fully backing it. I've got a good feeling about this one. So fingers crossed.
Well, if he doesn't win, if we don't win it, we can go clip this up, because I've never said anything ridiculous ever, and we can say it was your fault for saying it. You jinxed it, not me. Yeah, anyway, mate, exactly. Cheers for coming on. Absolutely fantastic debut from you, and I'm sure you'll be on again very soon. Cheers, mate. Yeah,
cheers for having me, mate.
Right, that was Jamie. We're going to wrap up the show. You know what's coming up. Anyway, everyone, like the video before we end the show. Finally, then, quick thoughts from me. Job done. That's all it is today. Nothing, no drama for once. No scary last-minute winners. No scary last-minute goals. Nothing to defend at the end. We were okay. We did well, and we go into the semi-final. And a semi-final that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer simply has to win. There's no excuses with this one. I think if he doesn't win this, he will get a lot of questions asked of him, and rightly so. 5 semi-finals defeats is not a good record. 5 semi-finals and maybe a trophy out of one of them. And you tend to look at it and go, you know what, consistency, improvement, great. But I really hope we can win this one, because if we don't get to that final, we'll never know whether this team really made any progress. And I hope it's not through a stupid error. I hope it's not through a little silly mistake that we go out, or we go through even. I hope we go through this comfortably, as we should do. Roma are a team to be got at. I don't think they're as good as they were a few years ago. I don't even think they're as good as they were last year. Never mind before that. I think we've played tougher teams in this run. I think AC Milan were better than them, and I think we dispatched them pretty comfortably as well. So hopefully we can see through Roma. I'm pretty confident, but again, United's semi-final record is not great. But you can't get too negative. We've just won a quarter-final. We're into the semi-finals of the Europa League, which means that Europa League Champions of the World is still on. Everyone like the video. Make sure to comment below what you think. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to keep it tuned to All for United. And, of course, keep giving it to Eddie Cavani. That is the one. Please don't watch that clip too many times. See you in a bit.